few aircraft rewrote their own destiny quite like the Handley Page Victor. Born as a Cold War nuclear bomber, it outlived its V4 siblings not by dropping bombs, but by trading that original role for one just as vital. As an in-flight refuelling tanker, the Victor became a lifeline in the air, keeping British aircraft on task during the Falklands War in 1982 and again in the Gulf War of 1991. It served right through to 1993, a remarkable career for an aircraft designed in an era when British aviation ambition practically glowed in the dark. Every aircraft has a story, but the Victor seems to hoard them. Its curves, its crescent wings, its quiet stubbornness to stay relevant, it stands as one of the most distinctive shapes ever to cast a shadow on the ramp. And each scheme in this kit reveals a different chapter of that long, winding tale. Scheme A is a Handley Page Victor K2 XL231 Lusty Lindy from No. 55 Squadron, Operation Granby, Desert Storm, 1991. XL231, better known today as Lusty Lindy, began life in 1961 wearing the brilliant anti-flash white of Britain's earlier nuclear deterrent. She served with No. 139 Squadron and returned to Handley Page soon after, to be modified for the Blue Steel mission. Once the V-Force was ordered to fly at low level to evade Soviet missiles, the white paint gave way to camouflage and XL231 found herself selected as the prototype for the K2 tanker conversion program. Her trials at Woodford and Boscombe Down paved the way for every converted Victor that followed. From there, her career accelerated. She served through the Falklands and the Gulf, part of a tanker fleet that achieved a flawless serviceability record during Operation Granby. Not a single aircraft stood down. For a fleet of ageing airframes, that reliability became a badge of honour. It was during the Gulf War that XL231 gained the artwork that defined her ever since, Lusty Lindy. The name was said to be a tribute to the crew chief's wife, and the playful artwork sparked a wave of nose art across the Victor fleet. When the aircraft returned home, they became some of the most photographed RAF machines of the era. After her final years at RAF Marham, Lindy took part in the last official RAF Victor flypast in October 1993. Days later she flew to her new home at the Yorkshire Air Museum, where volunteers have kept her alive. Her Rolls-Royce Conway is still capable of echoing across the old airfield. Though her fast taxi runs have now ceased, her engine starts remain one of the great Cold War experiences. Today she wears a fresh RAF camouflage scheme, newly repainted and looking spectacular under the museum lights. Scheme B is a Handley Page Victor K2 XH669 from No. 57 Squadron, Operation Blackbuck, Falklands War, 1982. In 1982, during the Falklands conflict, the Victor tanker force became indispensable. Even before the task force reached the South Atlantic, Victors were already sweeping across the ocean to gather reconnaissance on shipping and sea conditions. Their defining moment, though, came with the Blackbuck missions, long-range Vulcan attacks intended to disable the runways at Port Stanley. The nearest British airfield was on Ascension Island, nearly 4,000 miles away. For a single Vulcan to reach its target and return, an aerial refuelling plan of extraordinary complexity had to be performed with absolute precision. 11 Victors took off together, each loaded to the limits with fuel. They refueled one another in sequence, passing fuel forward until the Vulcan was ready to strike. One small error could break the chain. After the bombing run, 5 more Victors were needed to shepherd the Vulcan home. It was a feat that stretched crews, airframes and planning to their limits, but every aircraft returned safely. Victor XH669 played her part in these missions. Built in 1959, she first appeared at the Farnborough Air Show in gleaming anti-flash white. Converted to K2 form, she served with No. 57 Squadron at Marham and joined the support missions for Blackbuck. During one of the refuelling sequences, her probe snapped off while taking fuel from another Victor, forcing the tanker formation to rapidly change roles mid-air. She transferred her remaining fuel back, returned to Ascension and lived to fly again. Her career ended in 1990 after an emergency landing at RAF Waddington. Damage to her controls spelled the end of her flying days and only her nose section survives. Scheme C is a Handley Page Victor SR2 XL193 from No. 543 Squadron, Operation The Tune, Lima Airport, Peru, 1971. When the Valiant reconnaissance fleet was grounded, the RAF accelerated plans to turn the Victor into a long-range reconnaissance aircraft. The SRT variant carried specialised cameras in its bomb bay, atmospheric sampling equipment in its wing tanks, and batteries of photo flash flares for night photography. Only 8 full SR2 conversions were completed, but they became some of the most capable reconnaissance aircraft of the era. XL 193 deployed to Peru as part of Operation Attune. From Lima Airport, Victor crews flew vast distances to collect atmospheric samples after French nuclear tests in Polynesia. Clouds of radioactive particles drifted across the Pacific, and the Victors flew straight into them, gathering data with canisters designed at Aldermaston. The aircraft carried radiation sensors and enhanced filtration. It was dangerous work, but the Victors excelled at it. A single sortie could map an area the size of the Mediterranean. These stories circle back to the kit itself. The 72nd scale Victor remains one of Airfix's most impressive large-scale models, a centrepiece kit fans have been eager to see return. With Lusty Lindy freshly repainted at Elvington, the lead scheme is likely to be more popular than ever. But each scheme, from Gulf War Icon to Blackbuck Workhorse to High Altitude Scout, reflects a different era of a remarkable aircraft that kept rewriting its own purpose long after its rivals had gone.